Okay, good afternoon everyone. Welcome to CMBS Talk Show Gen Webinar 2020 with Indonesian Independence Day Special Edition. The theme for this webinar is From Students to Students. We will sharing experience about culture, language, and academic life. But before we start the the webinar meetings, I let you to click the link that is in the chat to do the attendance first. So we will give you the certificate after you click the link. Okay. So the first one, I will introduce to you what is actually MBS as the MBS. Wait a second. Well, who are we? CMBS atau Center for Migration and Border Studies in Indonesia, atau CMBS Indonesia, atau dalam bahasa Indonesia disebut Pusat Studi Keimigrasian dan Perbatasan atau PIKAP, berawal dari sebuah grup diskusi yang membahas isu-isu kontemporer terkait dengan migrasi dan keamanan perbatasan di Indonesia. Dengan motivasi untuk berbagi, sekaligus mengajak setiap individu dari berbagai kalangan untuk bergabung dalam forum ini, kemudian untuk memperluas wawasan dan sudut pandang, maka CMBS Indonesia didirikan pada tanggal 6 Mei 2020. Situs ini terbuka bagi masyarakat umum, khususnya para mahasiswa, pengajar, dan praktisi pada bidang terkait migrasi dan perbatasan, untuk dapat menyampaikan masukan atau pendapatnya dalam bentuk tulisan. Kemudian, kita juga bekerja sama dengan PPAA Flinders. PPAA is the official Indonesian Student Association in Adelaide. To role, the PPAA is to help international students with settling into life in Adelaide and at Flinders, and provide ongoing support and activities for Indonesian students, including temporary and permanent accommodation, information, and support. Second, academic and non-academic sharing forums. Third one is information about Indonesian events and cultural celebration. And the fourth one is networking among Indonesian and Australian friends, including with FLIPSA, or Flinders International Postgraduate Students Association, and AIYI, or Australia-Indonesia Youth Association. And we also have Flinders Jembatan. Flinders Jembatan is a Flinders University initiative that brings Australian and Indonesian communities together in academic and non-academic forums to encourage cross-cultural exchange and understanding. The initiative demonstrates Flinders' commitment to its close relationship with Indonesia, forged through over 50 years of strong research and teaching linkages. Jembatan is committed to working with Indonesian and South Australian community groups, government agencies, education institutions, and business to promote and strengthen South Australian engagement with Indonesia. You all guys can follow our Instagram at cmbs.indonesia. Kemudian, and then we have PPSA at Instagram, and also we have at Facebook, which is Flinders Jembatan. You may follow those accounts so you could reach out more to us. And then I will give you the demographic of the participants right now. The participants that joining in this webinar, there are 200 participants, consist of 123 from students, and then 2 from private sector and business, and then 5 from lecturer, and then 71 from government worker or ASN. And then, by the end of this session, by the end of this webinar, speakers and participants are expected first to exchange information about culture, language, art, academic experience in Indonesia and Australia. Second, to share their perspectives on a strategic partnership and cooperation between Indonesia and Australia in terms of community development. And the third one is to provide solutions for further improvement about human resource in both countries. And then this activity will contribute to share some positive ideas or thoughts towards Indonesia and Australia, and will have good impacts to strategic partnership, collaboration, and networking between 2 countries. Then I will explain to you the rundown. We will have 2 sessions. The session 1 is the talk show itself. I will interviewing all the speakers in here, and then the second session is game session, which is trivia quiz for speakers and also participants. And what is it? For the session to start, we will have question and answer session from participants towards the speakers itself. And then I will explain to you the rules of this webinar. The rules of this webinar, which is participants can ask question by raising raise hand feature at the Zoom or chat. And then all participants will be muted unless asking question. And then please fill in the attendance list by clicking the link and at the chat room. And then certificate will be sent within a week to participants' email who attend this meeting. That's all the rule of this webinar. After that, we will have welcome speech by President of PPIA Flinders University. Please welcome the President. Time is.
Terima kasih, Aslan. Selamat siang semuanya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yang saya hormati Pak Budi sebagai sesepuh kami, PPIA Flinders, kemudian juga sebagai pembina dari jembatan. Yang saya hormati juga Pak Ridwan Arifin sebagai pembina atau pendiri juga CMBS. Kemudian juga para speakers, ada Namira, ada Hena, kemudian ada Muhammad Rizky, kemudian ada Hiu juga. Saya mengucapkan terima kasih atas nama PPIA Flinders, atas kesediaan semuanya untuk menjadi bagian dari kegiatan joint webinar antara PPIA, kemudian Jembatan dan CMBS. Sebetulnya ini memang diinisiasi oleh CMBS bekerja sama juga sebetulnya dengan PPIA Flinders dan juga didukung oleh jembatan. Dan mudah-mudahan dengan kegiatan ini bisa memberikan manfaat yang luar biasa, terutama karena tujuannya ini adalah untuk berbagi antar mahasiswa dan berbagi pengalaman antar mahasiswa, terutama bagaimana pembelajaran bahasa juga budaya asing. Kenapa? Karena bahasa Inggris kalau di Indonesia menjadi pembelajaran bahasa dan budaya asing. Begitu juga bahasa Indonesia di Australia gitu, menjadi pembelajaran bahasa dan budaya asing gitu. Jadi foreign language ataupun bukan second language tetapi menjadi foreign language. Nah, itu yang akan menjembatani keinginan kami, sebetulnya niat kami adalah untuk menjembatani kedua belah pihak mahasiswa antara Indonesia dan Australia, sehingga dengan berbagi ini kita bisa menemukan satu titik temu yang nantinya juga akan menggali beberapa masalah, kemudian juga menemukan solusi yang bermanfaat untuk kita semua. Mohon maaf sekali lagi jika dalam kegiatan ini kami kurang maksimal menyajikannya, dan sekali lagi terima kasih juga kepada para partisipan, kepada para peserta yang mau meluangkan waktu untuk kembali bergabung di joint webinar kegiatan kami hari ini. Terima kasih sekali lagi. Demikian dari saya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya kembalikan ke Aslan.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih. Thank you for the speech. And after this, we will have a keynote speech by Dr. Priyambudi Sulistianto. Dr. Budi Sulistianto, the time is yours. I'm sorry, sir. Please unmute the microphone.
Selamat siang dan selamat tengah hari di Indonesia. So I'm very happy. Excuse me. I'm very happy that we are meeting again with some of you and maybe new meeting with new friends in Indonesia, and I'm very proud of former my students who are also in this webinar, and I hope more Aussie also. But nevertheless, we are on the right track to deepen our relationship between Indonesian and Australian, particularly at the people-to-people levels. I always focus on that because that is the one that we can ourselves and collectively can do it. This is also special because we are in the spirit of celebrating the 75 years of Indonesian independence. And that is also important because after 75 years of independence, we have achieved a lot, but also we haven't also achieved some of the things that the mother and founding fathers, the founding mothers and founding fathers were dream of at that time. One of them, of course, to have everyone have access to health facilities, education, and also social justice. For Australia, of course, we have a very special relationship because during the period of independence struggles from 1945 until 1949, Australian people, I mention people because there were group of Australian, particularly the unions, pekerja buruh pelabuhan, that's what in Indonesian word, who join and who collectively across Australia help to mobilize the support for young republic at that time, which was declared from Jakarta and then have to move to Yogyakarta, my hometown. I have to repeat this because not many Indonesian, even Australian, perhaps remember that the relationship between ordinary Australian and Indonesians began from that period, very important period. And then, of course, Australian diplomats or Australian lawyer, I think, constitutional lawyer, involved in the number of United Nations sponsor meeting to help international community sitting together with the Dutch and the Republican, the Indonesian side, to prepare ways in which we can coming out from the war of struggle at that time. So if we look at this role, we should not forget that Indonesians owe a lot to Australian. Kita berhutang budi terhadap orang-orang Australia di awal-awal revolusi. Ketika itu Perdana Menterinya kan kalau tidak salah Perdana Menteri Sultan Syahrir. Ya. Dan itu penting untuk mengingatkan bahwa hubungan rakyat dengan rakyat sudah kuat ketika itu. Okay, now even more special because this year both Indonesian and Australia were agreed to sign and to implement the Indonesia-Australia's Comprehensive Economic Partnership, IECPA, meaning that it's not just the economic partnership, but also comprehensive, meaning that other other sectors from education, from human resources, from export imports, from whatever forms of comprehensive partnerships have to be make sure both sides benefited. That cannot be done only by the government official signing the memorandum of understanding. So people like you and me, all of us, make that happen. So what can we do, or what can be done by some of us in the futures or near futures? Some of you will be finished university, my student from Australia. Some of you in Indonesia also working, or perhaps one day will be finished your studies. You can do a lot at the different levels, at the context of people to people's level. So this webinar is one of them, because without communicating with others, we won't have any more things to do. So this is a good time. In the time of pandemic, we can think and plan, and also to connect with each other with the view of making sure that our future relationship will be mutually benefit, and also helping each other's people and countries to reach each other's goal. The goals of Indonesia, of course, by 2050 will be one or country that will be mature in democracy and economically very important, and in terms of international stand will be one of the key players in the region. So Australia, despite the population is up to 25 by current census, has been and will be very important partner for Australia by working together. I hope you, some of you, all of you will be leaders of those two countries. We might have differences, a number of you, but we are both in democracies, so we can have that differences, but we can make sure we can work together to make the region a peaceful, prosperous, and stable politically. I think that's all from me. Good luck. I will watch this forum, and of course, I'll be interested to hear your views and your joke or your playing games. Terima kasih. Sampai nanti ya. Enjoy. Ada hiburan, mungkin Pak Ridwan mau memainkan.
Okay. Terima kasih Bapak Dr. Priyambudi Sulistianto for the keynote speech. Okay, and it was a video that perhaps Australian students, the learning gamelan from Mas Ridwan, Pak Ridwan. And then I will introduce myself. My name is Aslan. I'm a student at PKN STAN, Politeknik Keuangan Negara STAN. Right now, I'm still at the 6th semester of my college. And then I will tell you the speakers today. Today we have 4 amazing speakers. They are Hannah Brimstone. Hi, Hannah. And then we have Namira. And then we have Hugh Matthews. Yeah, but he cannot on his camera. And then we have Mas Rizky.
Hi, Aslan.
Okay. Before we jump to the interview, I will read their CV first. First one is Hannah Brimstone. Her educational background is Bachelor of Laws and Legal Practice at Flinders University from 2012 until present, and then Bachelor of Psychological Science at Flinders University as well, 2012 until 2019, and then Diploma in Language Indonesian, Flinders University Adelaide, 2015 until 2018. Her professional experience, I will mention a few of her experiences, which is so many of that. Government Relation Intern, Newcrest Mining at Port Moresby, 2019, and then Flinders Connect Officer, HEO5, at Flinders University, 2016 until 2019, and then Criminal Defense Clerk, Legal Service Commission of South Australia, 2018, and so many others. And then her international experience, such as New Colombo Plan Scholar at Papua New Guinea, Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, 2019 till present, And then semester exchange international law, Gajah Mada University, Yogyakarta, 2020. Semester exchange PNG Studies and International Relations, 2019, and many others. She also has extracurricular experience, which is Congress AIYI Content Officer at Australia Indonesian Youth Association in National Committee, 2019 till 2020, and then Climate Change Collective at Divine World University at 2019, and so many others. And awards and achievement that she has snatched is such a few of that is QPR Gatekeeper at Suicide Prevention Training, and then co-founder of Flinders Indo-Pacific Society, and then Flinders Law School Negotiation Competition as grand finalist, and so many others that I cannot mention one by one. And then we also have Namira Dita Pratiwi. She is from Universitas Pendidikan Indonesia, Kampus Cibiru. She is at the second semester of her college, and then she mastering Pendidikan Guru Sekolah Dasar at UPI Kampus Cibiru itself. Her prestation, one of her prestation, our achievement is the best speaker of UPI Cibiru 3-minute presentation at 2020. And then we have Rizky Setiawan. Rizky Setiawan right now is at Immigration Law 2017 till now at Immigration Polytechnic Jakarta. And his senior high school is Senior High School 2 Jombang, which is Jawa Timur, if I'm not mistaken. And then some of his accomplishment is Vice President of Student Council, and then runner-up of English speech competition for varsity, and then most outstanding delegates for International Organization for Migration in AYIMUN 2019. And then he also had ever do the conference, which is International Conference on Human Security Agenda in the Globalized World at Putrajaya, Malaysia. And then we also have Hugh Matthews. Wait a second. Hugh Matthews studied Indonesian at SMA, which is St. John's, and then and then continue his study at Flinders University and finished it for 4th year of Indonesian, and also do teaching degrees. And then that's all our speaker today, they are so amazing. And I will do the interview first, and then I will go to perhaps Hannah first, okay, for the Australian students. Hannah, what do you think about Indonesian culture in general?
In general, okay, it's such a hard question because, as you would know, there's not just one Indonesian culture. And this is something I really found out this year when I was on exchange in Yogyakarta. So I've spent most of my overseas experiences in Bali and Yogyakarta, and a lot of the Indonesian culture that Australians know, if they know any at all, is either Balinese or Javanese. But I made some really amazing friends with some people from Maluku and West Papua, and learnt a bit more about Eastern Indonesian culture, and found out how that was a bit more similar to like Papua New Guinean culture. So even the food is very different. So when I think about Indonesian food and dance and things like this, I always think Javanese first. But it was really interesting to learn that there's so many different Indonesian cultures. And I think that's something really special that I think more people should be aware of, that Indonesian is not one culture. It's hundreds of different cultures from all of the different islands. So I think it's incredible, and I think that I don't know enough yet, and I can't wait till I can travel back and go to some more regions outside of the center, so I can see even more different Indonesian cultures.
Okay, so you think that Indonesia culture is so incredible, and you want to go back to learn and then to see more culture in Indonesia. So you ever go to Jakarta, right? Do you ever went to Jakarta? So have you ever tried Yogyakarta's traditional food?
So like gudeg and other things. Yeah. So I tried some Yogyakarta food. I ate way too many chocolate bakpia. So yeah,
Okay.
No, I do love the food and trying different foods, but I think because I've only spent a lot of time in the center, I've mainly just tried Javanese food and Sotokan food.
Okay. That's amazing. And then, uh, uh, you ever visited Indonesia? Then, you may tell us your experience about visiting Indonesia. Perhaps like the most, what is it that makes you the memory that makes you so remember Indonesia?
I have so many memories of Indonesia because I've been really fortunate to go maybe. I think I have been on 8 separate trips to Indonesia. So my first trip was in 2012 and I had just finished high school and my mum took me to Bali as most Australians like to travel to. But we didn't stay in the main center. We traveled out to Ahmed and Lovina at the north of Bali. And yeah, I think it was the first country that I'd been to where when I practiced some of the language, people were really excited and encouraging. And so I felt very, very encouraged to keep going and I wanted to keep trying and keep learning. And I think that's what makes me want to keep going back to Indonesia is every time I go, I learn something new and people are always so encouraging for me to keep learning and keep trying. And, you know, you speak to the next person and they say, oh, you've tried this and now you have to try something else. And so there's always something new. And I know because there's so many different islands that I know every time I go, there will be something new and there will always be someone that wants to show me that or show me into their home or show me their family, teach me some new words. There's always something. So Indonesia just keeps giving. And that's what I always think about is that there's always something. And every time I go, there will be something else and someone that wants to show me. Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. So the best memories is memories that will come in the future.
I hope so. Yeah. I have a lot of good memories in the past, but I hope there will be more.
Okay. Okay, so move to Huge. Huge, hi Huge.
Hello, how are you going?
Yeah, I'm good. Okay, the same question as Hannah. What do you think about Indonesian culture in general, Hugh?
As Hannah said, that's a very good question. Unfortunately, I haven't had the chance. I was going to go to Indonesia this year, but of course, not anymore. But I think probably a good way of thinking about culture in Indonesia is a bit like Aboriginal culture in Australia, because there's a lot of subdivisions, special languages to each region. And I guess outwardly, because I don't have as much experience as Hannah, I think it just seems like a much more culturally rich place, and there's so much to learn. And I feel like as a student here, like you learn something about Indonesia, but then you have to kind of keep refreshing your knowledge because you learn about so many cultural dialects. Like, there's just so many different iterations of foods and cultural practices. I think, Australian culture in comparison can be a bit more homogenized, a bit more the same across the board. But there's just, much more to understand in Indonesia, and I'm very excited to keep learning about it. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, extending the question, a lot of language in this world, but you choose Indonesian language or bahasa, and why is that? Or perhaps you may explain it in Indonesia, in bahasa?
Saya akan coba ya. Um, saya mau belajar bahasa Indonesia karena orang Indonesia baik hati dan ramah sekali, dan juga saya pikir bahwa itu mudah belajar bahasa. Well, it's kind of, don't know how to say it in Indonesian, but it's easy to become fluent in Indonesian to a degree. Whereas, like, for example, because at my school, SMA saya, they offered bahasa Jepang dan bahasa Indonesia. Dan saya memilih bahasa Indonesia, um, because by the end of year 12, so the final year in high school, I guess we were a lot more competent with the language, so we could speak a lot more than our peers that chose Japanese. And I think that's something that's just really gratifying when you can study a language and without too much effort. I mean, obviously you have to still put in the hard yards, but you can learn to speak it quite quickly. And yeah, just the Indonesian culture and people is probably the biggest reason why I chose to keep studying it.
Okay. That's so touching. And then, what food have you ever tasted? Indonesian food have you ever tasted?
Probably, obviously, not too much, but I do love my Indonesian cuisine, and I wouldn't be able to name any on the spot apart from the obvious ones, but anything and everything. Some things I didn't even know the name of. I mean, yeah, and there's just a lot more variety than Australian food, I suppose. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Hu.
Sama-sama.
We go to Indonesian students, which is Namira and Mas Rizky. To Namira first. Namira, Mbak Namira, what do you know about Indonesia? Apa yang Mbak Namira tahu tentang ini? Sorry. How do you know about Australia?
Australia. What did I know about Australia? Australia is a country that near to Indonesia, I think, and I just know some Sydney, like Perth. I don't ever go to Australia, but I think Australia is a nice place to go there. So maybe I will go there if there is any change for me to go there.
Okay, so you wanted to go to Australia because it's a kind of nice place to go, right?
Yeah.
Do you know like a specific place that you want to go to at Australia? For example, like X restaurant or X mall or something like that?
No, but I will visit the Sydney Opera House in Sydney.
Opera House at Sydney. Okay.
I wanna see
Why is that?
like some what? Sorry,
Why
I can.
why do you want to go to Opera House at Sydney? Kenapa pengen ke Opera House?
Because it's like nice place, so I want to go there to look about the opera house in there.
Okay, I see. So you like opera thing, something like that, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's amazing. And then, do you know about Australia culture in general?
I don't know. Like I just know that Australia have known to kangaroo like that. I don't have any idea about specific culture in Australia.
That's okay. Yeah, Australia is just very famous for a kangaroo, and yeah, we are so excited to see kangaroo at real Australia. And then we jump to Rizky, Mas
Yes.
Rizky.
Yes.
The same question like Namira. What do you know about Australia? And have you ever visited Australia?
Yes. Well, the first time when I heard the word Australia is like, yeah, it's a land for kangaroo. That's what comes up in my mind. And yeah, I spent my childhood in Australia, in Adelaide. So yeah, it's right. I see a lot of kangaroo and also koalas jumping around the trees. And yeah, when I come up and live in the Australian community, I found that Australia, just like what Hugh and also Hannah told us, that Australia is quite similar, especially the Aboriginal tribe with Indonesia, Papua New Guinea. It's just quite the same, but quite different customs and also culture. Yeah, that one.
Okay, interesting that you say that your childhood spent at Adelaide, Australia.
Yeah,
Oh,
I spent my childhood in Australia.
how long was that?
Quite about 2 years. Yeah, 2 years in
Yeah,
Australia.
amazing. So what do you see about Australia at the time? I mean, like the culture itself.
Yeah, what I found, because I went to Bellevue High Primary School, it's in Adelaide. I've seen that Australians, it's same what like Australian people see Indonesian people. They're really respectful, and also they're they see human as a whole. You know, they don't differentiate me because I'm Asian. They don't persecute me or something like that. They're really nice person, and a lot multiculturalism there, and I learned a lot of things, yeah, like culture and musics and things like that. Yeah.
Okay. So, tell us about Australia. What is it? Australia foods. Like, how does it taste?
Oh yeah. The first time I got a lot quite really interesting situation when I visit my friend's house, Australian friend's house. Um, he gave me a kind of a jam. It's called Vegemite. Maybe Australian people know it. Vegemite. I was thinking that it's a kind of chocolate jam. So I I I took so many jam from my bread, and I was tasting it like holy moly. I don't know. It's quite different in my tongue. And then my Australian friend was like laughing at me so much. That's Australian jam, he said. But the more time I live in Australia, I taste that Vegemite. It's quite good too. For me, it's quite tasty. It's quite really good. And now I miss Vegemite a lot. You know, I'm searching a Vegemite in Indonesia, and it's quite hard to see. In supermarket and probably anything, it's quite hard. But I can buy a Vegemite in online store. Yeah.
Okay, so it's like a gem, right? That.
Yeah. Tasty jam.
Okay. Yeah, you seems like so shocked when you are eating that.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I still will go to Indonesian student first. To Rizky. What do you think about learning English language? What is the most difficult part in learning English?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Learning English for me, it's like if in Indonesia, it's like you're talking grammar, grammar. It's quite hard. It's quite hard because we have a lot of formula for that. If Indonesian teacher taught us a lot of grammar, but for me, learning English is quite relative easier because I learned Mandarin too in my university in Immigration Polytechnic, and I learned Dutch too. But I found that English is quite easy to understand because it's speak by a lot of people in the world. So probably that what makes it familiar to my ear, not like Mandarin and also Dutch, which is unfamiliar. So yeah, it's quite easy.
Okay. It's quite easy from Rizky because he also learned Mandarin and Dutch, but
Yeah,
English is easier than
yeah,
Mandarin and Dutch. Okay,
yeah.
jump to Namira. What do you think about learning English, Namira? I'm so sorry, please unmute the microphone.
I have interest in studying English because I think English a cool language because I love watching a movie, and so movie is a lot of movie in English that are so I interested to learn about English, and I think English is a universal language that so I have to use to practice it. So that's why I want to learn English.
Okay, so English is a language and everyone is doing that, so triggered to also master English in every way, right? That's very good. It's like development of personalities. And then, thank you. We go to Australian students. I'll go to Hugh first.
All right.
Yeah, Hugh, perhaps that you know about Indonesian education system. How do you think about Indonesian education system?
As in, what do I perceive Indonesian education to be? Is that what you mean?
I'm so sorry.
Like, what do you mean? Can you repeat the question?
What do you think about education in Indonesia in general? If perhaps that you know that the system or the curriculum or the teachers and so.
I think from what I can tell, I mean, obviously, I'm just guessing because I don't really know. But my impression is that the high school is probably a bit less regimented than it is in Australia. I'm not sure about the curriculums over there. I
Yeah.
think because I know of the Pramuka, and there seems to be a lot of nice little things like that where Indonesian students have to partake in these a lot of school like extracurricular things. And I really love that about their high school system. Um, I think it's a shame that there's not more things like that in Australia. And then, to be honest, I don't really know anything about the university system over there. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. You know about Pramuka as a scout in English, right?
Hmm.
Is there any scout also in Australia?
Yeah, there is. But I would say not many people at all actually do it. It's kind of like an extra club thing that some people would do. Like I don't personally know anyone that has done it in my friendship group or anything like that. But
Okay.
as far as I know, everyone does it in Indonesia, don't they?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hugh, let's talk about music, Hugh.
Yep.
Do you listen to Indonesian music?
I tried to. I think it's hard to get into if you don't have people telling you what's good. I mean,
Right.
after studying it a bit in uni, I listened to a bit of Iwan False and that kind of thing. And at the moment, I'm listening to, you know, Lancaran Gamelan because
Yeah.
I'm doing the gamelan topic at the moment. And I've been really enjoying just listening to it, and I showed it to
You
some of my
learn
students the other day. What was that? Sorry.
so you learn to play gamelan?
Yeah, I think I've had only 2 sessions so far, but yeah, I'm really enjoying it.
Okay. What instrument that you play that time?
Um, Last time I went, I played the gongs, and that was a stressful experience. I think the other ones I was just playing I forget what they're called, but like the small percussion metal ones.
I see that one, but I
At
also
the
don't
front,
remember.
yeah. At the front, yeah.
Okay, cool. How do you feel to play gamelan? I mean, like, how does it feel like? Difference between the guitar and then drums. So you play gamelan. What do you feel about playing gamelan?
That's a good question. I think what I like about it so much is that it feels a lot more spiritual than music in Australia, like just playing the guitar or something. And I did a bit of reading about how, for example, like the gong is a very feminine instrument, and it's like, you know, there's spirit and there's a whole lot of culture tied up in it. And I think just hearing like the sound of gamelan in the room just makes you smile, and I don't know, just makes you feel like you're a part of something. I don't know, it's been really good.
Okay, so it's kind of having special but spiritual things like that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I can see that. You know what, the gamelan in Indonesia, when someone hear gamelan sound, they will feel like so traditional, and then about mystic and so on and so forth.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Because it is so spiritual. What is it? Having a spiritual sense. And then we jump to Hannah. Hannah, you seems like smiling when you when we talk about gamelan. Have you ever played gamelan as well?
Yeah, I didn't do the class. Like it's an option as a culture topic as part of the Indonesian degree at Flinders. So I didn't do the class, but I did as part of Aya. They had a gamelan night where we got to try some of the different instruments, and I was smiling because I think I'm not very coordinated, so I wanted to play the gong because that's just one. But still, even that was, yeah, as you said, it was a bit stressful because, like, if you make a mistake on the gong, everyone knows, you know, because you just have one for every like 4 or 8 sort of beats, whereas the little ones, like, they're all important and they all make the sound, but like, you know, if you have one note to play for like 10 seconds, like it's very obvious if you miss it. So yeah, I was just smiling because I was remembering that.
Okay, so gong is like rare to sound, but once it sounds wrong, you're gonna be like, everyone will notice that.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So you fluent to play gamelan?
But no, not at all. I would like to know more though. I would try some other instruments, like at another event at Flinders, we learned how to play angklung.
Angklung.
And there's another one which I forget. I think it's one of the individual instruments from. So there's another boule that hangs around Adelaide, but he has a full set of the. I can't remember the name, but he can play the whatever the instrument is that is like a series of round discs that you hit as well. And he's very musically talented, so I feel very inspired, and I would love to know more Indonesian instruments.
Okay, that sounds so very interesting to know more about music. Okay, to Hannah, as your CV stated that you are a NCP alumni, and we're curious to know what is actually NCP, Hannah. Would you mind to explain to us?
Yeah, definitely. So NCP stands for New Colombo Plan, and it's a big scholarship program that's delivered by the Australian government, the Australian Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. And so there's a few different streams of New Colombo Plan, a few different types of scholarships, and they're all for Australian undergraduate students. And so some of them support short-term exchanges. So in 2015, I got one of the short-term NCP grants to go to Indonesia for 6 weeks to do some study and language training, etc. Then there's sort of a medium-term scholarship where people can go on a semester exchange. And then there's a long-term scholarship where people can study, do internships and language training for up to 19 months. And I also received that scholarship and was super grateful and happy to be the first Flinders student to receive that NCP scholarship. And so that's where I did my studies in Papua New Guinea, and then started to do my semester at UGM, but was sent home early because of COVID. So yeah, I should still be in Indonesia right now, but unfortunately I had to come home.
Yeah, so sad and so unfortunate because of this COVID. But what else we can do? Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds interesting. So this is a scholarship that's served by the Australian government. Okay, to have like short-term, mid-term, and the long-term.
Yeah,
and you
correct.
took the short-term exchange, 6 weeks. Okay.
Yeah, so I
Because
did one short term and then one long term.
Okay,
So
one
I got
short-term and then
two
one.
different ones. Yeah.
The long-term one is at UGM as well?
Yeah. So the short-term one was a program that Flinders ran. And so we did a couple of weeks in Bali and then a couple of weeks in Yogyakarta, and we went to UGM. And then the long-term one, so in addition to my studies in PNG, I did a short-term course at UKSW in Salatiga, and then I went to UGM for my semester exchange.
Okay, UGM and UKSW. Because did you ever having like education in Indonesia? What do you think about education in Indonesia?
I think it's very different. So I think one of the first things I learned is that in addition to what you get in the classroom, you need to have WhatsApp and Line, because half of my assignments and messages and I don't know, some of the important things that you need to know all come through informal conversations on WhatsApp or Line. So I would get a notification that says class is cancelled, but it would be from my friend online. So never like an email from the lecturer. So I thought that was really important, that your classmates are really important, and knowing who like the class president or the sort of the point of contact is, they're a really good friend to have. And also like is very different. Like it was very much lectures and not as much interactive stuff as in Australia. So my classes in Australia were like a combination of a lecture where the professor teaches, and then you have another class either once or twice a fortnight where you would look at a problem question and sort of do more sort of interactive in a smaller class. Whereas in Indonesia, it seemed to be all lectures and a lot of information, and then sort of having to then work out how to use that in the assignment.
Okay. So yeah, WhatsApp and line is very important when you are in Indonesian educational system. But when it is at Australia, you don't use Line and WhatsApp. So what do you use?
So to talk to my friends in Australia, I just use Facebook Messenger. So that's like something I had to bully my Indonesian friends. I was like, talk to me on Facebook, because I keep accidentally muting my WhatsApp and never check it. But for university things, we use the online platform. So at Flinders, it's something called Flinders Learning Online, or email, where so any sort of important communication from the lecturers go on the university page, or it comes via an email. So yeah, because I think for us, WhatsApp and Line are a bit more informal.
Okay, I see. So, okay, Australia is using Facebook Messenger to contact to friends, and using online platform or emails about educational. Okay, seems like a bit different.
Yeah.
Okay, because we are still talking about the educational system, we jump to Mas Rizky.
Okay.
What do you think about educational system at Australia? Because you have been there as well.
Yeah, so probably I'm going to talk like about my experience when I was in primary school. It's quite different from Indonesia. A whole lot, total different. You know, in Australia, if I'm not mistaken, it's until year 7. Yeah, if Indonesia is until year 6, which is quite different. You know, quite different, the situation, and also the subject in Australia in elementary school, it's not complex as Indonesian school. You know, and one thing that I'm happy as a student is we don't have any homework. Yeah, we don't have any homework in Australia in elementary school. I don't know if that still happened until now, but as far as I know, I experienced no homework in Australian school. And also in elementary school, we still have like a playground. Yeah, if Indonesia is like taman bermain in kindergarten. Yeah, it's quite. When I first came to Australia, it's like, holy, there's a playground in elementary school, you know. But yeah, that is something different from Indonesia. I mean, like we still have the chance to explore ourselves outside, and also you know, develop fun with friends. And also I also learned another language in Australia too. It's an additional language. It's France, but I forget now. So we have an additional language to learn in Australia school. It's French language. And yeah, probably just that one. Oh yeah, the first time before, so there's 2 classes when you first arrive in Australia. It's called the new arrival program. So you learn the language, and also you learn the system there first before you went to the local school. I mean, like with the local students, with Australian students in mainstream. So the first time you arrive in Australia, you will join a class called New Arrival Program, and now it's Intensive English Language Center. So you study the language first, and then the system, and then when you master it, you go to the mainstream. Yeah.
Okay, so there is no homework.
No, yeah, no homework. No homework. Oh yeah, one thing. Yeah, one thing that I found really interesting is like when I walk in the street or something like that, I was seeing like a lot of people reading books, you know, reading books. And I asked my dad, what are they doing? Obviously, they're reading book, but Australian culture is reading book. My dad said like that. But that's true. I got homework, but only reading books. That's what is really interesting. I think that can be developed in Indonesia too. So before we went home from the school, we have to take 1 or 2 books to bring home and read it. And after we read it, we report it to the teacher. What thing we can get from the book, and then what we found interesting in the book. I think that I don't consider that as homework. I consider that as fun thing. So probably that could be implemented in Indonesian school too. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds really interesting about that. No homework, but there is a task to read the book, then you can report it, what you get from the book days after. That sounds interesting. Let's jump to Namira. Namira, I want to ask you like something, because that you are still at second semester, do you have like, what is it, hope or wish to extend your study at Australia?
Maybe if there was a change, I just think like I want to extend my study, but I don't have any plan yet to go abroad, because it's so many things that I think if I go to extend my school abroad. But I think Australia is a good to extend my study.
Okay, so yeah, there is a kind of a wish to go to Australia to study, right? But not now, because it's still few years later, so you haven't planned it yet. That's okay. That's great. So, Hannah or everyone, the speakers would, what is it, giving any questions to each other speaker? Hannah or he or Hadiski to Hannah or whatever.
I might have a question.
Yeah, sure.
So, because I just did so my last assignment for Indonesian was to kind of write a paper about something to do with Indonesians. So I basically interviewed a couple people and wrote a paper about the experience of international students in Australian universities. So maybe it might be good to ask what their experience was like. Was it lonely? Did they have a good time? Was it worth it? What could be better? That kind of thing.
Okay, so the question is directed to?
Maybe risky.
Okay.
Okay. So you mean was I having a good time in Australia or something?
Well, because did you study at university in Australia or not?
No, I studied in elementary school. When I was in Australia, I studied in elementary school, not in the university.
Ah, gotcha. Oh, okay. What about Namira? Did you study at uni in Australia or not?
No. What?
Well, that makes it difficult.
Sorry, can you repeat the questions?
Did you study at an Australian university, or have you before?
No, I just attend my second semester now in Indonesia.
Ah, begitu.
I'm in the first year.
Maaf semua.
So, let me clear the question. So, do you want to know how does it feel to be like international students, whether it feels alone or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was aiming for, because basically what I uncovered in my short research, I'm not sure of the validity of my research, but I heard from a lot of Indonesians yang belajar di sini bahwa it can be a lonely experience, and that there maybe isn't as much support as there should be, and that kind of thing. And obviously they're having to pay a lot more isn't exactly fair if they're not being supported. Yeah, so I guess that's what I was getting at, but maybe it's not possible.
Okay, so thank you. And then Hannah, perhaps have a question, or Rizky or Namira to each other.
Okay, so I would like to hear about you and also Hannah. How was it? Do you encounter any culture shock when you first came to Indonesia or anything? Or do you have any interesting experience that you could share when you joined the university within your friends there, Indonesian friends? And how was it like? Yeah, probably that one.
Okay.
I can talk to this one. So I think it's so interesting, having now been to Indonesia a few times, to travel to Indonesia with Australians who go to Indonesia for the first time, and for me to be shocked at what they are shocked at. Which, because I've been to Indonesia so many times now, some things feel normal to me. So I remember one time coming back from Indonesia, and I was back in Australia, and I just walked across the road with my hand out to stop the traffic in Australia. And my friend was like, "Hannah, no, you can't do that here." And I was like, "Oh my goodness, I forgot." And I was like, okay, so maybe I went into Indonesia for too long. But like other things, like some things become really normal. And I like that about Indonesia, because it's like some things are so different, but you are so encouraged to become part of it. It's not like this is for us and not for you. It's a very sharing sort of thing. And I thought that's very different, because I think sometimes the attitude of some, or, you know, I don't want to paint Australia with a bad brush, but sometimes the attitude of Australians towards foreigners or people not from Australia is very different. So it's
sorry.
not as, yeah.
Would you mean to answer that by bahasa, with bahasa?
Oh, okay. But bahasa aku like kurang bagus. Okay, so how? So waktu, or how? This is hard because I don't know my thought in Australian, in English yet. So like I have to switch my brain. Like orang Australia, kadang-kadang orang Australia tidak seramah sebagai orang Indonesia. Kasus like to yeah, people from other countries. This is hard because I don't know what my thought is yet. Yeah, maybe I have to think about it, and then I'll have to write it down first. But yeah, it's like the attitude of Indonesians is very welcoming, and I think that was almost culture shock. I was like, oh, so friendly, like this is so interesting. But other things, I think, and I don't know the Indonesian for this, but like Indonesia is very chaotic, and you sort of have to trust the process, because so many things happen behind the scenes that you don't see. So for example, if you want to organize a trip to climb a mountain, you ask the first bapak you see. It's like, "Bapak, I want to climb the mountain." And he says, "No worries, leave it with me." And then somehow the next day at 7 a.m., after speaking to maybe 10 different bapaks, someone else comes and picks you up and takes you to the mountain. And I have no idea how it happens, but like it's Indonesia, it will happen. Like, and I think those sort of things where you just have to say, this is Indonesia, and like be a little bit more relaxed and calm and just trust that things will happen, and they happen. And that's very hard as an Australian who wants control over every step. So it's like I need to know everything. I want control, and to have to let it go and be like, okay, Indonesia will look after me.
Okay, before you, I'm so sorry. Participants, if you have question that you may chat in the chat room. So later we will answer the question that you gave to us. Okay, Hugh, please.
Oke, ini susah karena saya belum pergi ke Indonesia. Tapi saya terkejut karena orang Indonesia lebih, in general, lebih ramah dan senang memberikan waktu daripada orang Australia. Because I think, I don't know, if you ask for an Indonesian for help here, or if you give your help, they're very surprised. And I kind of wondered why that was, but I think orang Australia di sini mungkin, I think it kind of, they just want to go home after they've done what they want to do, and aren't always very helpful. But I've found that pretty much like with an Indonesian person, if you need help or are curious about something, they're always very happy to share, very happy to talk about their culture, always have the time of day for you. And I think I've just never met an Indonesian that I haven't liked. And I can't say the same about Australia, but as Hannah said, don't want to paint a bad brush. But yeah, it's very kind. And I think that's what's been the biggest thing for me, is that they're so warm and willing to include you in their culture, whereas I think maybe Australians are a bit more exclusive about, supposedly Australian culture, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the answers and for the question from Rizky and Hannah and Hugh. Okay, we will go to the session, next session, which is question and answer by the participants toward the speakers. So the participants that you have questions towards the participants, that you may raise hand, like feature raise in the Zoom, or you may chat your question in the chat room. Is there anyone having a question? Okay, sure. Bahtiar.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So I've got question to the speakers probably. My question will be about learning foreign language. So in Indonesia, it's actually English or foreign language, especially English, is one of the foreign language that actually has been taught to the students since primary school. But I don't know the fact in Indonesia, like mostly people still cannot, cannot be active speakers, or probably it's because Indonesia is not English, native English country. And I want to ask your opinion about learning English in Indonesia, because the fact in Indonesia, when there's people who are going to speak English or want to practice their English to other people, like our surrounding or many people will say that we want to show up or show off, or we act like English, or like, I mean, like that thing is quite problem, because that makes other people who want to learn English, they feel unconfident. So and in my language, or in Japanese, we call it Inggris. So like when there's people want to practice their English, and like you will be called Inggris, or in Indonesia we can say so Inggris or ke Inggris-Inggrisan, like people who act like English. So what do you think about that fact, about the Inggris issues? So I think that's all.
Okay, thank you, Bahtiar. That's it's very interesting question. It's like question, right? The struggle to learn English in Indonesia is very high. A lot of people will mock or something like, you are too, what are you doing? Why you speak English like that? So how to overcome it? Perhaps the question I will direct it to there. How to overcome if there is someone that give you limitation to learn English? Perhaps this question would be rather be more matched towards Indonesian students, which is Mas Rizky or Namira. Perhaps Namira first.
About English issues is about yes, I felt like that too, because many people, many our friends that have thinking about why we use an English language while we have our native language like Indonesia, like that is something that bothering me, because English is a universal language. So if you want to communicate with other people beside our Indonesian friends, maybe English is very useful to study. So we just have to find a friends who want to talk English too, so we can practice it with them.
Okay, that's from Namira. Mas Rizky.
Yes, thank you so much, Mas Bhaktiyar, for the really great question, because I've encountered that kind of experience like that. You know, people call me so communities and something like that, but it doesn't matter for me. You know, for me, learning language, the key is understanding a lot of vocabulary. You know, that's what my mom always told me about. You know, not remembering the formula for past tense or something like that. That is taught in Indonesian school. Yeah? But this could be another clue for you to learn English. Is learn a lot of vocabulary. So before I went to Australia, my mom always asked me to remember 10 vocabularies each day and report to her in the afternoon. So in the morning, she gave me the list of vocabularies, and in the afternoon, I have to report to her. And yeah, it really helps you a lot. You know, when you're speaking, you can a lot of clue can come up in your head, like what to say in the word in English or something like that. So, you know, expand your vocabulary and also watch English films. For me, it's like that. And to overcome the society that told you communities, I don't know. When I encountered that kind of situation, when I speak to my friend Gede Maha, people would tell me like so communities or something like that. But I don't really care about that kind of situation, because for me, language is a skill. You know, English is a skill for me. So when I don't, to upgrade your skill is to practice every day. So when I don't practice my skill, of course it will be gone. My English will be gone. So I'm really afraid of that. So I don't quite care about what people say to me, but I just keep on going and keep on speaking with my friend. So yeah, that's the key for me. For me, yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Terima kasih Mas Rizky for the answer, and Namira for the answers. Okay, there is a question from Dista. Question for Hannah. What do you think about freedom of speech in Indonesia, Hannah?
Okay, this is a very political question, I think. So I think from what I've read a lot online is, I think the Indonesian government doesn't really like criticism. So when you talk about freedom of speech, you have to be very careful that what you say doesn't criticize the government. So I remember when I was in Yogyakarta, there was going to be a women's march. And so people were like, to celebrate International Day of Women, there was going to be a women's march. And like we were sort of very much in a cafe on the sidelines because, you know, not going to be involved in protests. Like that's not what I went to Indonesia for, but we just happened to be in a similar location and we saw it from a distance. But there seemed to be more police than women or people marching. And so it's interesting that you, like, from what I could see from being on the outside and not knowing anyone involved, is that you're sort of allowed to protest and allowed to have marches and allowed to have freedom of speech, but you're not allowed to be critical of the government. So I think freedom of speech in Indonesia is very different to freedom of speech in Australia, because we are allowed to be very critical of the government with more or less no consequence. So I can post anything that I want on my social media page, and not sort of fear that something will happen to me. But I see news stories a lot. For example, there's the West Papuan activist that's in Australia at the moment, and she can't return to Indonesia because she's fearful of what the government may do. So I think, yeah, freedom of speech in Indonesia and Australia is very different. And yeah, I think you have to be careful, and like I would have to be careful as an Australian going to Indonesia, what I would say if I wanted to, be vocal about specific issues. So yeah, it's very different. It's a very different situation between the two countries.
Okay. It's so political. Okay. Okay, thank you for the question, Dista, and also from the answer by Hannah. Makasih semua. And then there is a question again from Alfiyah Makfiro. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to ask about the most noticeable differences in Australian postgraduate education system, particularly its master program, and what are the most important preparations we need to do? Thank you. Perhaps this is for Hannah, perhaps, or you?
So I can answer a little bit because I worked at Flinders, but I've only studied undergraduate, so it's a little bit different. So basically, as Papudi has put in the chat, there's different requirements from the government. And I think for me, having lots of Indonesian friends that I hear on Australia Award Scholarship, what they said is the hardest part of the application is often the English language requirements. So to study at Australian universities, you need to have, I think it's a level 7 on the IELTS test, which is a national language test. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle to meet the entry requirements, because usually you have a relevant undergraduate qualification and very relevant work experience, but it's the English language requirement. So I think, yeah, in terms of preparation, it's really important that you're basically fluent to be able to complete all of your assessments at a tertiary level in English, because it's not just conversational English, it's not just everyday English, it's like a university level English, so a higher standard. Apart from that, I think I can't really comment about the differences in postgraduate education system because I'm still undergraduate level, but just from the stories my friends have told, English is one of the hardest entry requirements. But I think one of the biggest difference in education systems that I've heard is Australia really focuses on skills like critical thinking. So it's not just about learning facts and being able to retell the facts, it's about critical thinking. So really evaluating a source, really criticizing a policy, being able to make conclusions and really think a bit more deeply about materials. It's not really what you know, but like how you sort of interpret and analyze and all those sort of deeper, higher order thinking, I think is one of the big differences that people say.
Thank you, Hannah, for the answer. Mungkin ada tambahan dari Pak Budi terkait pertanyaan ini, Bapak?
Saya memang mendorong banyak teman-teman Indonesia bisa sekolah di Flinders, makanya saya taruh di situ situs Universitas Flinders. Tapi yang sering di samping masalah kualifikasi yang paling mendasar yaitu bahasa Inggris adalah beasiswa. Makanya di situ saya sebut ada beberapa sumber yang lain, antara lain LPDP atau Australia Watch atau kementerian-kementerian, kadang-kadang universitas punya sendiri. Di situs Flinders itu kalau Anda nanti mencari international office, cooperation atau office, di situ banyak informasinya untuk postgraduate, master. Master biasanya di sini coursework, jadi ada mata kuliah, terus ada juga minor thesis atau research paper. Unitnya 9 atau 18, 9.000 atau 18.000 itu berhubungan dengan jumlah katanya. Jadi kalau master by thesis jarang sekali sekarang ada, karena harus ada coursework. Saya kira itu saja, tapi saya kira yang penting juga seperti dikatakan Hana tadi, persiapkan bahasa Inggrisnya, dan sambil itu juga mencari beasiswa, karena banyak beberapa teman di Indonesia bahasa Inggrisnya bagus, tapi nggak bisa dapat beasiswa, atau ada dapat beasiswa, tapi juga kurang bahasa Inggrisnya. Jadi dua-duanya harus dipersiapkan. Saya kira itu ya yang bisa saya tambahin.
Baik, terima kasih Pak Budi atas jawabannya. Okay, I think that's for the session question and answer. For now, we will go to the game session, which is trivia question session. Okay, the rule is this is for, I think this is just for everyone, so everyone could answer this if you are willingly to answer. Trivia question will be true or false question, so I will give you some statement that you will answer whether it is false or true. For the speakers, you may by your voice, and then participants, you may type whether it is true or false. You may say T word for what is it, for true, and F for false. Okay, do you get that? I will give you the example first. The first one is Sydney is not the capital city of Australia. True or false?
True.
Sydney is not the capital city of Australia.
True.
True.
True. Okay. Okay. So I think everyone is understand the rule, right? So what is the capital city of Australia? Voluntarily to answer. Hannah.
I know. I feel like it's cheating. We have the correct answer in the chat.
Okay. Canberra. That's good. Okay. And then let's go to the game itself. Everyone should be ready for this. The first question: true or false? The largest state of Australia is Western Australia. The largest state of Australia is Western Australia. True or false? Okay. Participants said false. Hannah, what do you think? True or false?
Again, I know. I feel like I should wait until some more answers come in because I know the answer.
Namira?
False.
False. Okay, and then Rizky? Is there Rizky still here? Okay, Hugh? What about Hugh? The largest state of Australia is Western Australia.
So the statement was that it is the biggest or isn't?
Okay, so you say false, right? Okay, The answer is the largest state of Australia is Western Australia is true. Okay, that's true. And then the second question. Indonesia has 50 volcanoes. Indonesia has 50 volcanoes, true or false? 50 volcanoes? Okay, I think this is like kind of so easy. It is false because Indonesia has a lot of volcanoes, so it is false, right? The answer is Indonesia has 149 volcanoes with 127 active volcanoes. It's so yeah, so volcanic. And then the third one is the national color of Australia is blue and gold. The national color of Australia is blue and gold. True or false? Okay. The national color of Australia is blue and gold. Okay, like everyone answering F. Okay, so that's correct. False. The national color of Australia is actually green and gold. And then this one, biggest flower in the world was first time found in Kalimantan Island. This is, I think, this is hard. The biggest flower in the world was first time found in Kalimantan Island. True or false? The biggest flower in the world has first time found in Kalimantan Island. True or false? Okay, so the answer is false. Because the biggest flower in the world was first time found in Sumatra Island. In Sumatra, not Kalimantan. And then the next one, Victoria is most populated state in Australia. Victoria is most populated state in Australia. True or false? Victoria is most populated state in Australia. True or false? Okay, the answer is actually false. The correct one is New South Wales, that is most populated state in Australia, based on the question. Okay, and then Indonesia and Monaco have this exact same flag. Indonesia and Monaco have the same, this exact same flag. Literally exact. Within the color and the place of the color itself. True or false? Okay. So the answer is correct, which is true. It is true that Indonesia and Monaco have the same exact same flag. And then the next question is, Kosciuszko is the highest mountain in Australia. And how to pronounce that? Kosciuszko is the highest mountain in Australia. Kosciuszko. How it's correct?
It's really close. We would say like Kosciuszko.
Kosciuszko. Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
It is the highest mountain in Australia. Okay, the answer is true. It is. What's that? Kosciuszko is the highest mountain in Australia. And then, first developing country to operate its satellite called Palapa. First developing country to operate its satellite called Palapa. True or false? Well, okay. Everyone seems so like very smart because they said, yeah, it's correct. First developing country to operate satellite called Palapa. Okay. Okay, right now I'm challenging the speakers. Please answer this. Darling River is the longest river in Australia. Darling River is the longest river in Australia. Correct or not? True or false? Hannah?
I know it's one
Okay,
of two
be
rivers,
quick.
but I don't know which one it is.
Hmm?
And this sounds bad because I live really close to the Darling River, but I'm not sure if it's the Murray or the Darling that's the longest.
Okay, so the answer is
I'm gonna get it wrong. Okay, I'm gonna say true, but like I'm only 5% confident.
okay. Hannah is true, and then Rizky.
I probably go for false.
Okay, probably go
I
false.
don't quite know
50
about false.
answer.
I hope it's a good guess.
And then Namira.
I go with false.
Yeah, Namira go with false. And then you?
I would have said false. I would have said it's the River Murray, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
I think it is the
Okay.
Murray. I think it is the Murray. Now that I think about it, I want to change.
Don't cheat.
I'm not cheating.
Don't searching first. Okay, the answer is false. Darling River is not the longest river in Australia, but Murray River is. Okay.
Lucky guess.
Okay. This is okay. Next, trivia questions. This is not true or false, but this is you have to like answer it like short answer. First question: how many states does Australia have? From Namira. Yeah, based on guessing, like that's fine. How many states does Australia have? How many states does Australia have? Berapa banyak negara yang ada di
Yeah,
Australia?
9 or 10. 9. 10. 9, 10. 9.
9. Okay, Namira answer 9. You?
Oh, no, I'm really bad with geography. I
That's okay.
would say 6, maybe. I don't know.
Okay, 6. And then Hannah?
Yeah, 6 states, 2 territories.
6. Okay, Rizky?
Well, this is just a guess. Yeah, I don't know exactly. So I reckon it's probably 7.
7. Okay, almost near. Okay, the answer is 6. 6 states that Australia have. Okay. The next one. How many letter alphabets in Indonesia language? How many letter alphabets in Indonesian language? I don't think that I have to ask this question towards Indonesian students. Anna, how many?
I was trying to think of like what word haven't I seen. I feel like you have all of the letters, but maybe there's no X. I don't think I've seen an X.
How many alphabets?
So there's 26 in the English alphabet, but I feel like there's no X in Indonesia.
So
I'm
it's
going to say
25.
25.
Okay. Okay, lock the answer. And then Hugh?
Yeah, this feels like a trick question. I don't know. I'm gonna say it has the same as Australia's alphabet.
Which
Letter
is
for letter, it's the same. 26. I'm just guessing they have an X. I don't know.
okay. I'll have bad internet connection. Hello.
Hello.
I
Hello.
can hear you.
Okay. How many here? I'm sorry. It was connection problem.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I would have just said 26. Could be
26.
wrong. I don't know.
Yeah. The correct one is 26 because Indonesian alphabet is exactly the same as English alphabet, which is 26. And then, what year did Australia get their first female prime minister? I think it's a bit memorizing questions, right? Participants, if you know, you may answer. What year did Australia get their first female prime minister? A clue, above 20s. 2000s. What year? Okay, Hannah, do you get the
Oh,
answer?
no, this is terrible. I know roughly when. So it's like somewhere between 2007 and 2011. I know it's in that period. But I just don't remember when Julia Gillard took over from Kevin Rudd. I'm going to guess and say 2008.
2008. Okay, Namira?
2007, 8,
2007.
9, 10. Maybe, I don't know. I just guessing.
Okay, Rizky?
In Indonesia, we never talk about Australian politics or something. So probably I'll guess kind of about 2011. 2011.
Okay, I think I have connection problems. Hello? Okay,
Hello.
I have connection problems.
Yeah.
What was that? What year?
2011, I guess 2011. 2011.
2011. Okay, Hugh?
Oh, I feel bad because I don't know, and I probably should. I think she's still the only female prime minister that we've had. I would have. I don't know. I know it's like late 2000s, early 2010s, maybe. 2000. I'd
2010?
say 2008 as well.
Okay, so the answer is 2010. 2010.
Oh,
2010.
no.
Okay.
Close.
We will post the quiz first because there is a question. How the Australian government views Indonesia from an academic and political perspective amidst the big difference in culture, European and Asian, and the economy, advanced and developing, and also how the Jembatan Flinders can contribute to the cooperation and relations between Indonesia and Australia through the role of young people in both Australia and Indonesia. Thank you. I believe this question should be directed towards Jembatan Flinders itself. Or from Pak Budi. Bapak Budi. Oke, sepertinya Pak Budi sudah meninggalkan webinar, jadi nanti akan kita jawab melalui perhaps direct question towards the committee itself. Question for Hannah and Hugh. How you prepare your Bahasa Indonesia learning or practicing before your departure to Indonesia? Is there any Bahasa Indonesia requirement level before you took the course in UGM, Hannah?
So I can start. So I've done now 4 different courses in Indonesia, so 4 different language courses in Indonesia. And none of them had entry requirements, so it's not the same as doing postgraduate study in Australia with the language requirements. But it's because it's targeted at beginners as well. So a lot of the courses that I did had a beginner level, so there's no entry requirements. But usually what happens is at the start of all of these courses, especially if you have studied before, you do a placement test and that puts you in which level. So either beginner, intermediate or advanced. So so before them I did a placement test and got put in the right class. I don't really have a sort of system for preparing or practicing before I go to Indonesia. I think when I lived in Adelaide, I regularly practiced my Indonesian because I had a lot of Indonesian friends in Adelaide, and so when we would see each other at IO events or social events, naturally we would just practice Indonesian. If I spoke to them on the phone, we'd talk in Indonesian. But because I finished my Indonesian studies in 2018, I hadn't really formally studied Indonesian for a while, so I'm not really in the routine of, studying with books and tapes and that sort of thing. So, yeah.
Okay. So you got 4 courses before it. And then, Hugh, perhaps that you wanna answer that?
Yeah, sure. So basically, just reiterate what Hannah said. I think there's probably more scope for beginners in a language. Like, you don't have to know as much kind of thing. But in terms of what I do now that I'm finished Indonesian, like Hannah, is probably just, I think, reading articles on, inside Indonesia in English, and then on things like Tempo, and just keeping up with Indonesian news and reading in Indonesian, listening to like Compass TV, that kind of thing. I think just getting as much exposure as you can, and then also just basically making the time to talk with your Indonesian friends in Indonesian and use the language so you don't forget it. I think because it is hard, but I think it's pretty simple practice, really. It's not like there's any formal courses. You just I guess try and use it as best you can, and there are courses you could enroll in, like at the School of Languages, but yeah, not as much. I'm just practicing. Berlatih saja ya.
Okay. Thank you, Hugh and Hannah, for the answers. Well, should we continue the quiz? Good question. Yeah, okay. There are still some questions in here, so I hope the speakers still could think about the answers. Okay. How many provinces that are there in Indonesia? How many provinces are there in Indonesia in 2020? How many provinces in Indonesia right now? Rizky?
Teach us this one in school. 34.
34, okay. Here?
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad Risky answered before because I would have no idea. I don't know. I don't even know how to like what a province is, but I'm gonna go with whatever Risky said.
Okay.
Okay, go with the same with Rizky. Okay. Okay. Hannah?
Yeah, I feel like you're probably a good source of authority. I know there's something like over 17,000 islands, but I can't remember how many provinces. Around 500 plus languages. But like, yeah, I'm gonna say let's go 34. I just picked that number out of nowhere.
Hey, Namira.
Definitely 34.
Okay. Obviously, it is. Okay, the answer is 34. That's correct. Yeah, you guys are correct. Congratulations. Okay. Then about kangaroo, how many jaws or yangru can a kangaroo have in pouch one at a time? How many jaws can a kangaroo have in a pouch one at a time? So how many kangaroo mother can carry her babies at her pouch? How many babies? Maximum.
I don't know that one.
Hannah?
Probably Hannah
Eh?
and you.
Yeah, I have no idea. I've probably I, I feel like I'm making it up, but I feel like I've seen like I don't know. It depends how small they are as well, because they start off like really small, but obviously they're in a pouch for a while, and then less would fit. But I don't know. I'll just gamble a guess at like 4. I don't know.
4?
Yeah, this is not very common Australian knowledge, but I know that they can hold at least 2 because like when they get scared, they will literally take one of their babies from the pouch and throw it and get rid of it. So I know that they can hold at least 2.
Okay. Namira?
I don't even see the kangaroo in real life. Maybe I think the mother can take two baby
2?
kangaroo on his pouch. Maybe
Okay.
on her pouch. Maybe.
Okay. Whiskey?
Me too. I don't quite understand about how many juries can kangaroos. So probably I'll go with you and also Hannah. Questions. It's at least 2.
Okay, let's shoot. Okay, the answer one is 3 babies. Okay, so yeah.
3.
You're right.
It's quite close. 2.
Quite close. Yeah, quite close.
Quite close to 4 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. This is a bit hard. Well, who is the only Australian to win the Nobel Prize for Literature? Who is the only Australian to win the Nobel Prize for Literature? I think this is kind of hard.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like a bad Australian now, not knowing any of the trivia knowledge. Like, I would be lucky to name an Australian author, honestly.
Okay,
Yeah,
does anyone know?
no idea. No clue.
Don't quit.
Maybe I'll say Banjo Patterson. He did a lot of poetry. He's pretty famous. That's my guess.
I'm sorry?
Banjo Patterson, a poet, is my
Okay.
guess.
Mira or Rizky, do you know? Have any clue?
I don't have any idea.
I don't know anything.
Okay, because it seems to hard, so that's okay. The answer is Patrick White. The only Australian to win the Nobel Prize for Literature is Patrick White at
Patrick White.
1973.
I've literally never heard that name before. I'm gonna have to do some Googling.
It's a rare to know, right? Okay, the last but not least, how many medals did Australia win in the 2016 Olympics? How many medals did Australia win in the 2016 Olympics? I'm sorry. Just guessing the number. I don't think everyone will remember this kind of.
No, it's kind of hard, but I'll go for 10. Probably.
10 was the number that I was thinking of. I don't really do sports, so.
Okay, this kid with 10, Namira?
7.
7. Okay, Hugh?
Go with 7.
Is it gold medals or just any medals?
Every medals, any medals.
I don't know, maybe 18 or something. I don't know, no idea.
Okay, I'll go with that. So the answer is actually a lot more than that. It is 29.
Wow, we're good at sports.
11 silvers and 10 bronze.
Okay.
Okay, well, I think it is the last question that we will do and the quiz. Congratulations to every winner in here. We are all winner in my life. Okay, yeah. I think a little bit summary by me that I can get from Hannah and then Hugh and also Namira and also Rizky, that is that we have to keep the relationship between Australia and Indonesia, keep bond, because we have a similar culture, not that like having a lot of differences. We have a similar culture, so we have to bond really tight, because once another is that we are so near, we are neighborhood. And Hannah said that Indonesia have a lot of culture that she wanted to know more about that, and she wanted to go back to Indonesia more and more. And then she ever tried gudeg, and she said like it's good, and so many others traditional foods from Indonesia. And then you say that Indonesian language or bahasa is like pretty easy to learn, because compared to other things. And then he also likes to play gamelan. He played gong at gamelan components. And then Amina said that Sydney would be so amazing to visit or to study in Australia actually. And then Rizky said that Australia was very amazing with its kangaroo and also the gem itself. And then he also liked to live there again, I think. Okay. I think that's all from the talk show that we have in this afternoon, and in the afternoon. And then I hope everyone in here will get a lot of more knowledge and then more insights from Hannah, Hugh, and then Namira, and also Rizky. And also back then tadi ada juga dari Pak Budi yang udah memberikan pengetahuan juga, insight juga bagaimana ketika kita mau untuk ke abroad, sekolah di luar negeri atau kuliah di luar negeri. And then I believe that everyone should stay safe because this COVID-19 diseases. I hope we are all still safe and stay home. I think that's all. And the last, for speakers, please stay 5 minutes. Still here after the session ends, because there will be evaluation by the committee itself. Thank you everyone who has joined this talk show, this webinar with CMBS, Flinders University, and also Jembatan Flinders, PPAA Flinders as well. Good afternoon. Have a nice day. Thank you.
Makasih ya.
Thank you, Hannah, Namira. You and Rizky.